Welcome to Mamas and Mimosas. This is Marianne.
I'm Janelle.
And I'm Roni.
And today we're talking all about ways to prevent bullying, the signs we need to watch for to see if our child is getting bullied or if our child is becoming a bully. We're covering different ways we prepare our children for the real world, physically and mentally. So grab your mimosa, pop in those earphones, and let's dive right into episode 25. Ooh.
Oh my god, it's gonna get deep, guys.
A shit show, a pure shit show. It literally takes a village.
I don't know if it was dirty or clean.
Oh my god.
Bad mom, like
yeah.
a mile. Yes, because I'm shining. Woo! That was good, guys.
Thank you guys for subscribing to the podcast and our YouTube. Our little mama tribe is growing.
All right, guys. This is actually a really controversial topic. So I have like nerves running through my body.
You're not alone. You're not alone.
All right, let's think back on like our experiences. Like Roni, were you ever bullied?
Ooh, I think I've said this a lot throughout all of our episodes. I kind of push it here and there, but I actually was bullied a lot growing up. And I think our day one listeners will probably be like, yeah, it's about her booty. I was bullied a lot, and that was why. And that's probably why one of the reasons now that I'm kind of so self-conscious about it is because I dealt with it for so long. And I don't know, like, I feel like me as an adult now, a lot of that bullying from when I was a child, it kind of makes you who you are, even though it's like bad and you don't know how to handle it then. I feel like it kind of structured me into as being a parent, like knowing how to speak to my kids about bullying, or because I feel like nowadays too, kids, like they play around a lot. Like I'll hear my son's friends, like they'll say something really bad, like, oh, look at you, you're ugly or something. And they'll say, I'm just kidding. Like kids take that to heart, like whether you're just kidding or not, you know? So just little things like that, I feel like in a sense, it did kind of structure me, but it also made me have a lot of insecurities now.
Yeah. But okay, so with that, do you feel like guys take it differently than girls? Because like I said, I had grown up with a bunch of guys, so that they tease each other constantly. Even now, like my husband and my brothers and cousins and stuff, they'll tease each other and call each other names and stuff, and that's like their relationship. And so, and that's their like banter. That's how they joke,
like,
you know,
playful banter.
Yeah. But I don't see that very often with girls. You know, you're not going to be like, hey, fatty, hey, you know, like.
I just think girls take it more personal versus guys do.
But then some guys obviously do too, you know. I guess it just depends.
I think it depends on, it depends too. I want to say like on maybe like how that person was raised, or like if they were bullied when they were little on like something like that. Like for me, like I was bullied for being heavier when I was little. And I can see like in a male, like later in the future, if someone called them fat or whatever, like even if it was playful banter, I could still see it like hurting inside. You know what I mean? But not like they wouldn't take it as personal as a girl. Like they wouldn't go cry about it, but you could tell it like stung them a little, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
But do you feel like guys are just supposed to take it, or expected to take it? You know, because if they cry about it, then they're gonna get even more like picked on or made fun of even more.
I think guys are more vocal about like their feelings. I want to say like they would tell the other person like, oh, that's sore subject kind of thing, or you know what I mean? Like guys have a way of telling each other like, don't touch that topic kind of thing, even if it's not those words. I don't know.
It depends on the person too, because everyone's set up so differently. Like there's probably some people who can handle it, and then there's some even guys who will break down, like, you know. So it just depends on the person and what the subject is, because I notice like when people say things, even if it's not intentional, if it's already an insecurity that you have within yourself and someone brings it up, naturally you're going to feel some type of way regardless.
Yeah. And then as mothers, we get even more protective because we, you know, hear them, even if we when we have sons, and then we hear them and their friends kind of talking crap to each other playfully, you're still like
defensive
inside.
You're so defensive.
You want to tell them later on, like, that's not true, you know, like don't listen.
Yeah, not stupid.
Okay, so then when you were bullied, Roni, did you like, what did you do? Did you like, what were you taught to do when you were younger? What, like, did you talk to your mom? Like, what did your parents, like, how did they raise you to deal with it?
Talk to my mom. My mom was like awesome in trying to like help me like to not care, but naturally like I wasn't, and my mom's, even back then, like she's just way stronger than I feel like I can ever be. Like things that would tear me up inside seemed like they wouldn't bother her. So whenever she would tell me like, oh, you just have to have tough skin and don't worry about them and stuff like that, even though she was telling me that and I wanted to believe it, I still myself was like, nope, no, you know, I was just always a sensitive child and I would just cry. I would fake sick so I wouldn't have to go to school. Like just all kinds of stuff because I was like, I don't want to deal with it. So
now what kind of bullying was it? Was it just like one particular person that would like constantly talk about a specific thing, or was it just like a girl that just you didn't like and you had beef with, or like?
No, well, it started like, so I would say the bullying probably stopped probably sixth grade is finally, so you figure from the time I can remember, so like maybe like first grade up until like sixth grade somewhere, and I switched schools a lot too, so usually somewhere between there it was like always like some sort of bullying, like somewhere here or the other, like whether it was about my shape or if I didn't have these nice clothes, or because growing up we were like poor. We did not have any money. I like all of my clothes came from secondhand store. Like so, and I think that's why I was kind of always into like fashion and stuff, because we didn't have money. So I would like go through the thrift store and like find different stuff and then decorate it or cut it or like make it to my own style so that I wouldn't get teased. So it was just whatever they found to pick on me about.
What would your response be when they would like talk shit?
When I was younger, like from the first grade up until sixth, I think until our sixth grade is finally when I was like, when I actually like fought back and was like, okay, no, enough is enough. And just totally took it out on the girl. I took it out on the girl so much that I got expelled and went to another school. That's how fed up I was. So I didn't say anything. Before I would just cry and I would like fake sick. I wouldn't want to go to school. And then slowly but surely, like I was just like, okay, this is, no, wait a minute. And then I just all of a sudden was like, okay, enough is enough. And yeah.
What made you like decide to like finally stick up for yourself? Like, did your mom tell you to, or like give you that permission that you felt like you weren't afraid of the teachers and you were just gonna finally do it? Because I feel like that's so common for kids to be afraid of their parents. So they're like, I don't want to defend myself because I don't want to get in trouble from my parents because they tell me not to hit, or they tell me not to fight, or I don't want to get in trouble from the teachers or the principal, you know, like they're so afraid of the upper authority that they don't defend themselves. Was that something that you dealt with?
No, I think it was just a matter of me, which is sad because it's like it was a matter of me letting it like build up and basically me getting the courage to stand up for myself. And unfortunately, it took that long until I was just like, you can't allow yourself, like it was like every school I was going to, it was something happening. Someone was messing with me, and I just was like, you cannot, how long are you going to go, you know, with people treating you like this? Like you have to stand up for yourself. And literally once I stood up for myself, it never happened again. Like people tried. Like, I feel like I had someone who tried in 7th grade, and I built this wall to where I was like, okay, I'm going to say something first so that you don't, not to bully me.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I set that up, but not until 6th
And
grade.
after that first Band-Aid, like it gets easier and easier.
It's easier. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you ever bullied, Janelle?
Well, before we get on mine, so how would you react? How would you react to your bullies? I know I'm looking the wrong way, but yeah.
Oh,
like, did you tell your mom? Like, what did you do? What was your response when people would bully you?
Well, the ironic thing was, and I mentioned this before, that it was like my own relatives.
Mm-hmm.
So all my, like, I would play with all my cousins, and it was just like, just words, but you could tell they were trying to be playful about it, but I would look in the mirror and I'd be like, oh my God, they're right, kind of thing. Like, they would call me Yokozuna, or they would, I don't know, like, they just would make fun of me about my weight. And I would kind of like try to say it back to them. Like, I was little, like, I'd be like, no, you're fat, or, you know what I mean? Because, like, they're my relatives. We all have kind of like similar bodies, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
Or I would just
like you.
Yeah, I would just say things back to them, but then like later on, like I would probably cry about it. Or I think the worst it got was like to the point where I remember one night we had like a family get together, and we decided to play like hide and seek at night, but like along the whole neighborhood. So I remember we would pick teams, and I like got chosen last, but they didn't even choose me. Like, they were like, oh, neither one of us want you on our team, kind of thing. And I remember I was like I tried to play it off. And then I remember once they all left, I sat there like crying, and like I wrote a letter like how sad I was, and then I just threw it away. Like, I never really went to anyone with it. I just kind of like always bottled it, or just
Oh,
there was never never a point where you snapped because you bottled it in.
No, I mean, as I got older, like, because my family and I are really close, so it's not like it made us stop hanging out with each other. Like, they were all my big cousins, and I still wanted to be just like them, so I just kept playing with them. But as I got older, like, and I knew I was the one that was in control of my body and what I look like, and that I could actually fix it, and it was something that was fixable, I just started like losing the weight. And
so, like, in high school, you never dealt with any like bullies or?
No. And it's funny because like, so I never got bullied by like other people, that like friends or whatever, but I remember in junior high, I became a bully to one of my like cousins who's like smaller than me, but she's older. So, and I'm sure you guys have met her, but anyways, yeah. So, and I remember,
you knew during that time that you were a bully, or did you, like, now looking back, you're like, damn.
No, I knew, and I was like a bitch about it. Like, and like I knew she always wanted to like follow me around still, like, and I think so it was because she came from the Philippines, and we were in junior high, and I knew like she started becoming friends with my friends, and they would start liking her, and so then I don't know, maybe I felt threatened, or like, and she was getting like straight A's, and I'm like, so I started just like picking on her, like to the point where, because like I kind of like a sad puppy, like she'd keep coming back, and I would just like feed off of it, unfortunately. And like I remember it got to the point where like me and my friends, who were her friends too, like walked over to her house, and I called her out, and I like punched her in the face for nothing.
Marianne. You always come with these stories that surprise us, huh? Yeah, always.
It's like, wow.
But it's funny because we are like, when you talk to her, like she'll tell you we have like a love-hate relationship, because like now, like not that we're BFFs, but she's one that I stay in contact with the most. She was my maid of honor. Like, it's, I don't know. Yeah. Just like a little sister that I knew I could just punk.
And you guys are always reminded by the scar on her face.
I think you said it right. Like, family does that. Like, cousins that are really close or siblings that are very close, like, sometimes you fight the most and tease each other the most and pick on each other the most because you know that you can, and then eventually you grow out of it. Some people grow out of it, some people don't. Some people don't, and you hear it and you're just like, damn, still bad. Okay, so I feel like it's hard for me because I see the bullying going on like on TV and like how bad it is and how it just kind of can like take over your whole life, you know? And I don't think I had that situation. I I was like Roni, where every school I went to, there was somebody who didn't like me, and they would try to like pick on me and stuff. But because I was raised like with my dad always saying like to defend yourself between our siblings, you know, that I felt like I needed to just defend myself. And even though I'm a very passive person, like, and it would take a while for it to like build up, but then I would eventually just like freak out and then be like, okay, no more, you know? And so like there was this one story that comes to mind. I was in the 8th grade, and this girl, I was always new to the schools. Like, we were constantly jumping from school to school. So I was always a new girl, and I always had to find new friends. And there was always somebody there that hated me for no reason. And so there was a girl there that I just so happened to become friends with, her ex-best friend. So that already made me like an enemy. And I remember telling you girls, but like for you new listeners, like I was always just skin and bones. Like, I would eat everything and I just could not gain weight. So I was just a scrawny little girl with a big old head. And like, and people would make fun of me because that they would, and I feel like that kind of drew more bullies in because they were like, oh, she's weak, you know, like, oh, they would say, oh, I could snap her like a bone, and just like all of this stuff, you know, so they just automatically like made me a target. And so this girl, she used to like, but like as she would walk by me, and it started with just mad dogging, you know, she would just give me dirty looks, and then eventually she would like put her arm out and kind of like start, you know, like bumping me as I would walk in the hallway. And the first bump like threw me off because I didn't know why. Like, what the hell? But then I remember, and then it was such a busy hallway that they just like left. Like, that was it. Like, everybody just kind of, it was like herding cattle, you know, like you couldn't stop right in the middle and be like, what the hell? Like, she was already way down there, you know? So the next time I was like, all right, I'm prepared.
Waiting for you.
So I locked up my arms, and I'm like, all right, this is like football. And so, and luckily I had older brothers. So like we used to play football, and they would teach me, like, if I would ever want to learn how to fight, they would like put on boxing gloves and be, you know, tell me like, okay, pretend I'm her, like just picture my face. And the whole time I would laugh because I'm like, this is silly. And they're like, come on. So they'd hit me and try to get me all mad. And it like, they were just train me to like defend myself. And I'm so thankful for those memories. But yeah, so anyway, I locked up real hard, and like I just boom, and then like she totally
was caught off guard.
Like caught off guard. And then that was it. She never did that again. She never, like, she would mad dog me, but she never touched me again. So like, and that was something that my dad would always say. He would tell us at a young age, like, you need to defend yourself. If somebody puts their hands on you, you need to immediately defend yourselves, because if you don't, then it's going to start a cycle with them thinking they could get away with it and then bullying you. And then once they start putting their hands on you and bullying you, it gets bigger of a problem, you know? And so, and then he would say like, you're not going to get in trouble. Even if you get in trouble right then at school, like, you're going to come home and get praises. Like, you're fine, you know, like, don't worry about getting in trouble. And I was that kid that never wanted to get in trouble from their teacher or anything like that. So to hear him say that I wasn't going to get in trouble was kind of like a big relief, you know? But it got really bad, like in middle school, where I went to school. I was like new, and the older girls wanted to jump me. And they were big girls, and they like all wanted to jump me, and to the point like they dressed like dudes. They were like cholas that dressed like full-on guys, though, like not girl cholas, like guy looking cholas.
Why did they
And
want
They
to
want to
jump
jump
you?
you?
I don't know. And so like I remember
Janelle.
the rumor went up to the high school, and my brother was in high school, and so
You
he
said
had,
when I'm
I know.
so he had some of his girlfriends from high school come down and tell the girls like to back off, but no, they weren't gonna back off. So
That made them
at that
more
point,
pissed.
I was like, I'm gonna freaking die. Like these girls were like for real
Huge.
for real deal. And so my mom had talked to me, and then she was like, no, I'm taking you out of the school. Just like the school in general was not in a good area, and there was always jumping and fighting and stuff. And for the most part, if it was like a one-on-one situation, it was going to be fine. But as far as like jumping, she was like, no, I'm pulling you out. So she pulled me out of the school, and she put me in a different district. And after that, dude, districts are night and day. Like I went to one district during like most of my elementary years, and I didn't have to worry about nothing. And then I come to another district, and it's like everybody wants to shoot me and kill me, and I'm like,
You're like, what district is this, Mom? We gotta go.
I know, but honestly, I feel like every school had problems, and I don't know if I could call it bullying, or it's just you got problems with somebody. But one thing that my dad would tell me to do is like, he was like, okay, listen, because he hated the whole jumping thing, or like confronting with all your friends so you could be all cool, so he would always say like, you go after the one that says that they
Your dad.
Go after the big one.
the big one, or the main problem, and you catch them by themselves.
Oh my God.
And you don't bring
guard.
he's like, you don't bring your friends, you just go by yourself, and you confront them, and you ask them what's the problem. And he's like, and almost 100% of the time you'll be able to like talk it out, because they don't have their friends, so they don't have anybody to pretend to be all brave for,
That's a good point.
I swear to God, it freaking worked. And sometimes though, and then as I got older and it got worse, then he was like, you like, if they're with your friends, then still go and confront them, because sometimes they'll be like, this bitch is crazy. Like she came up to me in front of all my friends, and it's like, she has balls, So I remember there was this one time, girl, don't even get me. I'm just going to tell you all the stories. But there was this one time that this girl, she thought that I had done something or whatever. And like, I like went up to her and her girlfriends at the table, and I was like, hey, like rumor is that you think that I did something, that I did this, but I didn't. And she was just like, oh, like all of a sudden she got caught
nice.
attitude.
Yeah, because
she caught attitude.
Yeah, because you can get those too.
Yeah. And then her girlfriend stood up and was like, oh yeah. And I'm like, first of all, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to her.
Oh,
this
shit.
is a one-on-one conversation. Like you have, dude, I remember like my brother would be like, you wear your hair up that day, you take out your earrings. Like I swear, I feel like I was like trained to like for war. Oh my God. So yeah, no, the stories are crazy. But I feel like honestly, if you would confront those people and those, most of the time, especially if you're by yourself, they don't pursue a fight. I don't know. It was weird.
What if they do? Then you just listen to your brothers and have your hair up and no earrings, and you be ready.
You gotta be ready. You gotta be ready if they do.
That could have been really bad for you.
It could have, but honestly, like I feel like that situation, you got to read the situation. Like that school that I was going to, like it wasn't the same it wasn't that district that the middle school district was in. Yeah, no. But I always felt comfortable to tell my mom. Like I always felt comfortable to go to her, and even my dad, or even my brother. Sometimes I just go to him and I'm like, Chris, like something happened again. Can you teach me how to fight? And then my mom back in the day she was going to nail school. And so I was like in the 5th, 6th grade having full set nails because I was her little mannequin, And so, you can't fight with nails. Like they're going to break off or it's going to hurt. So that was like another thing. I was like, can you just wait to mess with me until my nails are off?
You're like, I do not feel like breaking my nails over your face right now. So give me 2 weeks when I need to feel, and I'll be back.
Yeah, so that's that.
Have either of you experienced like any of your children being bullied or being the bully?
So recently, well, like first grade, or was it second grade? I think in the first grade maybe. Um, Peyton had a little situation where at school someone was messing with him, and it started off like he came home and he told me, like, I guess at recess or something, um he said the little boy just came up to him, and well, actually, let me get the story straight. At recess, one of his friends was like swinging chips around or something, and the chips flew, and so I guess it hit like a third or fourth grader, and he came over there, and then he just pushed Peyton instantly. Like, he didn't say anything, and Peyton fell to the ground, and then like a yard duty person seen it, and he came over and he made them both go to the principal's office. So they were in the principal's office, and it's like this person's word over this person's word. And when Peyton got home, he told me about it. And you don't want to, you feel like your child. Like, Peyton's very soft spoken. Like, he's not a bully. If it was another one of my children and they said that he was a bully, I would be like, okay. But Peyton, I can't see it. So when he told me the story, I go, okay, well, just they talk to us, just make sure you just stay out of his way. And then the next day he went to school. He said that he went up to the boy and he was like, oh, I just want to apologize for yesterday. That wasn't me throwing it. It was my friend, and it was an accident. And when he was going to apologize to the boy pushed him down again and then hit him. And then now this time, mommy now has to come to the school. So I had to go to the school. Yeah, I had to go to the school, like, see who this little kid was and all this stuff. Come to find out, it was a troubled child, like, who's always in the principal's office. But to make a long story short, just seeing him in that situation he was like so scared, like so scared. And I'm like, well, Peyton, and I was like, I don't condone violence, unless it's like self-defense. Like, at some point, like, if you have to defend yourself, you just have to defend yourself. You're not just gonna let anybody just punch all over you and you curl up in a ball. I'm sorry. Like, I'm not gonna tell my child to do that. I want you to defend yourself. And he told me, like, no, I didn't hit him back. He was like, Mama didn't hit him back. And then I'm like, I wanted to be like, why didn't you hit him back? But in his eye, like, he's so sweet, he doesn't want to hurt anyone. So I had to take that in perspective, like, okay. But I'm like, Peyton, it is okay to defend yourself. Like, I don't want you to think that I'm going to be mad at you for defending yourself. Now, if you just go and starting trouble and picking on people for no reason, that is a different story. But if someone is literally push you down to the ground and punching you, you need to defend yourself. So yeah, but just the whole feeling of like having a child that that someone was messing with them. I mean, I went to that school so fast. Like, I feel like I just pushed the door open in the office and went to the principal's office. And plus, I was upset that they didn't notify me, about the situation. But yeah, that's when Mama Bear has to step in. And I'm like,
was your adrenaline like fight or flight mode? Like,
oh, it was so bad. I was ready. I was so bad. I was like, I wanted to tell him, like, can you go get your mom, please? Go get your mom. I want to talk to your mom. Like, yeah, it's a feeling that you get, like, when someone messes with your baby, like, it's a total different ballgame.
Yeah. But what's sad is sometimes the moms don't condone it either. Like, sometimes the kid just does it, and it's not, and like the mom will beat his ass later.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't know.
This kid was, and especially too, it sucked because it was like a kid who was constantly like, Peyton wasn't the only person that got pushed down or something with the little kid. Yeah, he was trouble. In first grade too, Peyton had someone in his class who tried to tease him, And so that's the hard part too, because no matter how much I try to tell him, like, you know, don't let anyone do the same as my mom. Like, she kept telling me, like, no, you don't let anybody do that to you. But still, me just trying to be like so nice and don't want to hurt. I didn't listen to what she said, and I got bullied all the way till I was in the 6th grade. So it's one of those things. It's like comes with being a parent. It's it's nerve wracking.
Especially when they have the passive personalities, you know.
Yeah.
I feel like Landon's like in an in-between stage. Like I've seen him not like get bullied, but like I've seen like another kid push him. But then I've also seen him push like other kids. So it's like I don't know. And it's funny because when my husband and I talk about it, he's like, "Oh, Landon's gonna be a bully when he gets older." But like when I saw the other kid hit or push him, like he immediately like shut down and ran to me and started crying. It was like during like a little soccer practice thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, go tell the coach or do something back to him. But it's like, I remember like it's hard because during that time, like we were trying to teach Landon like to be gentle with his brother. So then like we're telling him not to hit and to not be so aggressive. But then like when it happens to him, like what do you tell them? Because I think he's so little that like he doesn't grasp the concept of like the difference between defending yourself and just doing it just to do it. You know what I mean? So it's like it's hard, but I think now like during this quarantine I've seen him kind of mature a little more. But I don't know, like when it happened, when he cried to me about it, like that somebody hit him and I saw it, I was just like, go tell your coach or go tell the person that's watching you guys. Like, you can't just always come run to me. I'm not always going to be here. You know, like first tell the grown up in charge of you guys. And if nothing happens, then you need to tell them like, you hurt me. And if they are still mean to you, then freaking do it back to them.
And it's like at that young age, it's hard.
It's hard.
That young, not like a lot of times they don't mean to be bullies, or you know, a lot of the times they just grab a toy and then push you off. You know, like so. But when they get older, is when you're like, go punch him back. Don't tell somebody. You know, because I feel like when they're little is when you need to like go tell a teacher. You know.
Yeah. And like even the time when I saw him push somebody, like they were in line to walk out of the school and I'm like walking on the side, like watching him. And I see that like one of the little kids is trying to like just stand in line or like go in front of him, but he's like pushing them back. And I'm like, oh my God, this little pug. And I know that's his personality because he does it to his little brother and he like, you know, I see it at home. So like I immediately, as soon as he came to me, I'm like, dude, you can't do that. I saw you push that little kid. And he's like, no, I didn't. And this little conniving little liar, like he lied. And I'm like, dude, you're telling me I'm lying to you now because I saw it. And he's like didn't know what to say. So I'm like, you can't do that. It's not okay. Like you're going to end up going to the back of the line and lose the spot you were in because you can't like keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's like you either nip it in the bud or like he's so young. It's hard to like distinguish the difference with him or teach him the difference.
Yeah. And I think we've talked about this on a podcast before or an episode before where we were saying how like to teach them boundaries, like don't hit other people, but at the same time, don't let them hit you too, you know, and especially when they're young at that age, like 2, 3, 4, it's hard to say like you keep your hands to yourself. And then when their little toddler friends hit them or take toys from them and, you know, constantly are doing that and are super aggressive. And then you're like, oh, but you can grab it back, you know, like they don't know that. Yeah. So then I feel like when you're constantly super hard on them, like, no, don't like keep your hands to yourself. Then they grow up being really passive. Yeah, because that's what I've seen with my boys. Like, we've always been on them, like, no, you don't take the toy from another person, and no, you don't hit, and and then now that they're older, when they have those type of situations where a kid wants to hit them or something, like, they're super passive, and I'm like, well, no, you got to defend yourself, So ours started pretty early on. I think there was so the first situation I could think of is when they were in base. So my oldest one, he's 11, but he started baseball around 5, and because of his birthday and age, he was put with the older kids. So he had like 6 and 7-year-olds on his team, and I remember he looked so small with all of the baseball kids, and all the kids, like, they're not, I don't know, the boys, they're not really into making friends. They're just kind of like bumping each other and, being aggressive in the line while they're waiting to bat or whatever. And so there was one time they were at the batting cages practicing, and they were supposed to be sitting in a line, on the bench and just kind of rotating in. Well, these kids just kept cutting my son. Like, they would come out of the damn batting cage and just go right to the
front
front
of him.
And there was no other parents helping, because there was all the dads were inside with the batting cages, and there was nobody like keeping track of the line, So some of the kids had gone a bunch of times, and I'm like, okay, this is so frustrating. Like, I'm sitting back here, and I'm like, my blood's boiling, my baby boy is being pushed aside, right? So I told him, you need to stay in your spot and do not let these big boys like catch you. You need to tell them I'm here, and that you guys are supposed to be a team. Like, here I'm thinking, like, 'cause I was never on baseball or any kind of sports, so I always thought like you guys were a team. You guys have each other back, So I remember this older boy, Jack told him like, no, I'm sitting here. I'm next, and the kid was like, no, move, and he was like, no, I'm next. And then I was so proud that he was telling the kid like, no, and he's so soft spoken. And then the kid sat on him. The kid sat on him, and I was like, oh, hell no. So then I got up, and then I was like, you need to let him go. He is next, And I felt like my blood like boiling. Yeah. But I'm like looking for these parents, like, who the fuck is your mom? Like,
let me tell your mom.
Kid, And so, because all of the parents are supposed to be there. And so the next time it happens again, and then Jack had the same problems with this kid, and the kid took Jack's spot. And so then now I was like, sit on him. Like, he doesn't want to give you a spot, then sit on him. And then so Jack sat on him, and then
oh my gosh,
Chanel! The kid still wouldn't move, and then I was like, fart on him.
Oh my God.
Chanel.
And then the kid looked at him, he turned around, he looked at me, and it was like, what the fuck? And so then he let him have his spot, and he was like, no, like, I don't want to get
family's crazy.
And my husband looked at me like, are you serious right now? And I'm like, I don't care. This kid, he keeps messing with him.
Those are some dangerous farts, huh?
Oh my God. He didn't fart on him though, but still, like, I just felt like, dude.
He was probably like, Mom, stop.
I know. So because I saw that it happened so early, this whole bullying crap and this whole like, I'm bigger than you, and so I'm gonna, take complete advantage of you, we decided that it was important to put them in some type of self-defense class, because and early on, so that they can build that confidence. Because even if they are passive, because the boys, one of them's a little bit more outgoing, but one of them's really passive. So I feel like even if they're super passive and calm, they still have techniques to defend themselves, So we put them in jujitsu, because apparently what we learned is that, like, for jujitsu, they use, like, instead of using like their punches and their strength, for punches, they use more of like their body weight and like different techniques to like take them down, and like little spider monkeys, and like wrap them up and stuff. And so apparently like a small kid can take down like a big tall kid, with different techniques. So so they've been doing that, and I feel like I've seen their confidence completely change. And they're not bullies, but they're not afraid of the bullies, I feel like at every school there's always a little turd that's trying to like punk a bunch of kids, and I've seen them defend other people. Like they're not getting picked on, but if their friends are, or if like girls, then they'll tell the bully like, hey, back off or whatever. And I'm like, oh my God. I feel like before the jiu-jitsu and the self-defense class, they would have never spoken up, you know?
Have they ever had to use any of their jujitsu moves?
They actually took both of them actually, because there was a kid who was constantly hitting them, and they would come home and say, this kid's hitting me, and we're like, you literally have the tools to like take them down if you need to, you know, like why are you letting them hit you? And they're like, well,
I don't want to hurt him.
I don't want to get in trouble.
And especially my youngest, he's like, I don't want to get in trouble. My teacher says to keep my hands to myself. And I'm like, well, he's not keeping his hands to himself. Don't let him hit you, you know? So then, and then we did the whole spiel. You're not going to get in trouble. But if you keep allowing him to hit you, what's the point of us taking you to these self-defense classes if you're not going to use it, you know? And so then he really liked the classes, so he wanted to stay in them. So the kid, one of the kid was putting his hands on him, and then I guess he like did a little twist or whatever, and he like knocked him over. And then the kid just stopped. I feel
usually
like
when you fight back or defend yourself, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
Yes. And that basically happened with my older son too. There was a kid that was constantly picking on other people, and he told him with words one time, like, leave me alone, don't touch me, like I could take you down. And I'm like, don't tell him you could take him down. Just
Let him do it.
But then the next time the guy messed with him, they teach him these little leg sweeps, and you know, and it's really impressive. But yeah, he used it.
That's still his way of like defending himself too, because if he like, it's better for him, what do you think, to tell him like, just leave me alone, you know, before he has to actually before he actually has to get physical. And then if he doesn't, then it's like, I tried to warn you, but you didn't want to listen. So
like they didn't go tell a teacher or anything?
No, because the kid knew he was the one who was starting it. And the kid had his mom working at the school. The mom was the proctor. So this kid was just going crazy, bullying a bunch of kids, and then telling his mom, no, I didn't, you know. And then the mom would talk to the principal, and he got so many chances that I had to write a letter to the principal. I was like, this is ridiculous. If it was any other kid, he would have been out of the school. You know, you guys have a zero bullying policy, but you sure give this turd a lot of, you know,
bullying power.
But no, he ended up getting expelled from the school, which I was really shocked. But yeah, no, I mean, I get that if say the kid's verbally talking crap and you're like, hey dude, like, back off, you don't want none, you know. But if the kid already has his hands on you, I think that's an invitation to get your hands back on.
You're like, don't you get your hand off my shoulder, or I'm like,
you know.
Oh,
I don't know. And then in life, I feel like there's always gonna like we've experienced it. There's always gonna be somebody who doesn't like you, or somebody who's aggressive, or somebody who you're going to have to protect yourself from. And, you know, like, I want them to know how to protect themselves. And it's really good because the jiu-jitsu professor, they're constantly talking about bullies. There's so many cute little kids that are so meek, and they're like super calm, and they have these little glasses, and, you know, and you would never know that they knew how to like put somebody in a pretzel.
And they're like badasses.
Yeah, but they're still so quiet, and they tell them like, this is not to be used as to bully people, you know. But then they reenact like bullying situation, like if a bully tries to punch you, this is what you do instead, you know. And it's I think it like teaches them that it's not to go around bullying people, like, you know.
Yeah, is that different from is that on the same as Taekwondo?
I've heard that Taekwondo also teaches you like restrictions, like not restrictions, but like to also respect others, you know, and there's a time and a place to.
We signed Peyton up for it right before all this quarantine happened. So he didn't get to take his classes.
Oh.
So we'll see how that works out, but he needs something. And two, the crazy thing about it too, like we're talking about like, physically bullies that actually can touch you, but what about when the kids start getting into social media and things like that? There's bullies, cyber bullies, and dealing with that, and though they can't touch you, but their words,
Right.
Well, that's even harder.
When the kids were young, I remember somebody had said that their mom was ugly and they had gotten all upset. And I remember being little and like kids would talk about my mom and they had never even seen her before. And I would get so defensive, I'm like, don't talk about my mom. Like, I'm gonna kill you. And so it was funny because he would tell me that they would tell me this and I'm like, okay, look, people are going to say whatever they want to say, but it doesn't make it true, and you don't need to fight everybody who just says that your mom's ugly or your mom, that's not a reason to fight people, and I try to tell him all the things that people could say. I'm like, they're going to say you're ugly. They're going to say you're too skinny. They're going to say you're too fat. They're going to say, whatever, all these different things. And does that mean anything? Like, when I say it to you, does that mean anything to you? And he's like, no. And I'm like, so don't let those words, it's not true. So don't let it affect you. And I know it's easier said than done.
But especially for a kid.
But I feel like if we start them young by telling them all the ugly things that people could possibly say, it sucks because I don't want it's kind of like planting a seed, but also teaching them to kind of protect themselves from it. I don't know. So I used to work with this lady and she had a bunch of daughters who were around middle school ages and they would have scenarios. So one of the girls was dealing with something at school. A girl gave her attitude. So she would play out like the full scenario, like, okay, what are you going to do tomorrow when she says move, and ugly or whatever. And then the girl would she was real soft spoken and stuff. And she's like, no, you say blah, blah, blah. And so then she would say, tell it to me. Say it like I'm her,
My mom would do this?
Yeah. And she's like, tell me, pretend that I'm her and tell me that, back off or whatever. And so they would literally do this at my job and just have a whole little skit going on. And the mom would not stop until the little girl like felt it, like not just said, leave me alone. It was like, you got to be like, leave me alone.
In your face.
Leave me alone, slap
your voice, And so she would constantly, and I was like, that's actually really smart because it's easy to just tell your kid, like, tell them to leave you alone, but if they whisper it, it's not going to mean anything. You got to actually practice it and teach them the tone of voice to use and the facial expressions and get pumped up, like.
And do you think too, it's all about them like building their confidence in order to do that? Because I feel like even with my mom, like telling me, to do this or don't do that, until I was actually got the confidence or felt like enough was enough, like I didn't use any of that she told me. Like I wish that I would have, but I just don't know why. I don't know why I did not. I'm really trying to think, like, why didn't I just do like my mom said, and maybe I would have stopped it earlier, but
yeah.
I think that some people tend to hold it in until they can't take it anymore. Yeah. Like I have a friend who's like that. Like they're like, okay, I could only take so much, but when they pop off, they pop the freak off, and I'm like, why don't you just say something? Like, why don't you just communicate before it gets to that point? Like, why don't you just nip it while it's small? Like, if she just barely disrespected you, why don't you just say, hey, you offended me or whatever, before you're like, fuck you, and like completely.
And that's true.
Yeah, but it was like uncomfortable for her to approach those small ones. So she's like, no, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna take it, and then all of a sudden it's like,
then that goes into when you're an adult, because I feel like that's still kind of my personality. Like I'm very like easygoing, and it takes a lot to really get me like upset. But then when I'm upset, people are like, whoa, like I never seen her like that. So she doesn't get like that often, but when she does, back up. I guess it follows you then.
And I guess, yeah, it's just probably your personality. So then how do you guys teach your kids to defend themselves or protect themselves against bullies?
For
So I know
Landon,
you said, yeah, go.
I don't know, like, it's almost, now that we're talking about it, it's like almost like I'm anticipating the day that like he tells me someone hits him, so I could be like, just just pop him back. But I don't know, like I always, like, because I grew up not being very verbal when it came to confrontation, like within among fights, like among my family, like we never talked about it, you know what I mean? Like we just kind of like went to our rooms and went our separate ways, and then we're fine the next day. I like we anticipate it with Landon, like you need to use your words. So for us, we've told him like always go to the teacher, or always go to who's watching you. Like why, like they're there, they see it, or you know, they're in charge of you. And if nothing happens, then you need to tell that kid, like, hey, I don't like that, or stop it, please. Or, you know, like we try to, like, because I feel like he can hurt someone. Like he's evil. He's a little evil punk when he's at home, and like
So you're
gets
trying
hurt
to teach him to communicate verbally before it gets
before,
physical.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he can do some damage if he really wanted to.
But have you guys noticed though? Like I feel like it's always like either the teacher's kids or the coach's kids or whoever is the instructor are always the worst ones.
Because
Really?
they know they can get away with it.
Yes, it does. It's never failed. Every single one of our coaches' kids, on like softball or baseball or
Really?
soccer or whatever it is the kid that doesn't listen, the kid that's the bully. So you can't really tell the teacher, hey, teacher or coach, your kid is hitting my kid, you know,
Oh,
like,
wow.
and then they feel intimidated to tell on their own coach's kid, you know. So I feel like it's always that kid that has that upper hand, you know, that is getting away with it. Just keep your eyes open for that. And
Really?
we're gonna vote on that in the in the Facebook group.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because I've noticed that a lot of the coaches' kids are the turds. And the teachers' kids are the turds. And the professors' kids. All the kids.
Oh,
All
now
the kids. All the kids.
Janelle, you may be onto something. Now that you may be onto something.
Not that they're
Wow.
bad parents. I really feel like a lot of the time the parent is so wanting to like be a part of it, and that's why they're the coach, you know. But I think like sometimes they're so preoccupied that the kid is just right, and they feel
Taking
like
out its horns and nobody
yeah, they're
sees
like
it.
running amok while dad's focusing on training the rest of the kids, or you know, like yeah.
Question for you guys. Have you, because you've had kids, or because your kids have been bullied in the past, like, did you see it mentally take a toll on them as they got older, or affect them at all? Like mentally?
For me, not yet. Like, I think that it was so early in, like, for the moment and when it was happening, I kind of seen it, but like as it went on and like the boy didn't mess with him, or he didn't see the boy, like he kind of forgot about it. Like he doesn't bring it up or anything. Like it didn't seem like it took a toll on him just yet. Like who's to say, you know, later on down the road, if another incident happened, he may take it harder. But I don't. This incident didn't seem to like mess
Affect
with
them?
him too much. Mm-hmm.
So before my boys were doing jujitsu, that one playground bully that his mom worked at the school, he's a lot bigger than my son. Like he's the same age, but he's heavy, you know, and he's taller than him. So he was really, really intimidated by him. And I didn't feel like he like was in fear every day or anything like that. But when he would tell me stories about him, it seemed like he was afraid of him, you know, like he didn't want to confront him. But when he started learning jujitsu and he was in there for maybe like 6 months to a year, and he actually defended himself to him, he I feel like it completely changed. Like he went from a super quiet, meek kid to like now he wasn't going to allow him to like just bully. bully him or his friends, you know, like, because he was just like running amok. So, but as far as like anything deeper than that, no. And it's funny because I would always ask about him, like, hey, how is he acting? Has he tried anything with you? You know, like a constant check-in with him. And then he was just like, no, Mom, he doesn't really talk to us anymore. He doesn't, you know, he's just stops, or he, you know, him, he's just doing his thing and waiting for somebody to give him attention. And I was like, oh, and he, to see him being more passive about it made me feel okay, because at first he seemed concerned with it, and he had said he told the teacher, and then the teacher was going to take it to the principal, but it was just taking too long. You know, as a parent, you're just like, I want action now. Like, I want the kid out of the class.
I don't care if you have an assembly, get in here.
Yes. So I just feel like I really feel strongly because of all of the drama that I went through my whole life. And yeah, my brother would teach me how to fight, but I mean, he's my brother, and how much experience would I really have, you know? And so I feel super strongly about putting your kid in some type of self-defense class, because I feel like that actually having those skills, and where it's second nature for your body to react in certain ways, like where you don't even have to think about it, that builds so much confidence mentally too. Like, yeah, not only physically, but mentally, you know, you're safe. You know, you're going to be safe, you know?
And I mean, sorry, go ahead, finish.
No, go ahead.
I had asked because I remember having like a client that I was training a while back mention how she has 2 kids, and one I want to say was in middle school. I don't think he was in high school yet. I like just checked in on her and was like, oh, how are the kids? And I remember she had mentioned like, oh, I'm having issues with my oldest because he loved school. Like, he was a great student, loved school. And then all of a sudden, like, she started noticing he didn't like school anymore. Like, he didn't want to go, or he would act like he was sick, or, you know, just like, and so she was just like, is something happening? Like, all of a sudden you don't want to go to school. And I guess he told her like, oh, I don't know if it was one kid or multiple kids bothering him or bullying him basically. So she went to the office and like brought it up, and like they never did anything about it. Like, they brought in the kids, they brought in their parents, and nothing ever got resolved from it. And I want to say like it took a huge toll on her kid. Like, I don't know if she ended up pulling him out, but like it was just like his self-confidence went down the drain kind of thing. And he was already older, so I don't know like if she wanted to put him in self-defense classes, but he was like, you know, he's almost going into high school. Like, you don't really like, you kind of start your kids younger, you know what I mean, with those self-defense classes. But yeah, I was just saying like, if you guys have ever noticed a change in your kids' like demeanor or anything.
So now that you brought that up, my youngest one, when he was in kindergarten, Max, he was being bullied by a girl. So that got tricky because this girl
you can't fight back.
You can't defend yourself.
Yeah, she had fallen back, so she was a year older than all the kids. So she was supposed to be a first grader. So she was the size of a first grader with a bunch of small kindergartners. And she would punk kids for their seats. She was just nonstop bullying people for, you know, that's my book, that's my ball, you know, move it. And so that was difficult because it's like, yeah, you can't punch her, you can't physically defend yourself. So I feel like that was a mental struggle for him.
Yeah.
And I brought it up to the teacher, and she was such a sweet lady, but she was like, oh, I'll bring it up to their parents because, you know, they're teachers too. And
of course.
Well, they were screwed then, you know? And so she's like, and I'll keep an eye on it. But it was continuing, and it was going on for almost a whole year. And then all of a sudden they became friends. And then I'm like, wait, you're friends with her? She's been like driving
pushing you off the bus.
But it came full circle because Max had a crush on this little girl, which was the girl's best friend, and the bully apparently had a crush on Max.
Oh, so my gosh!
Like, she was upset that Max would hang out with the girl that it was a friend, you know, and she had the crush on him. So And then I remembered, oh yeah, how kids are mean to each other when they have crushes. It's so stupid. But I was frustrated. And he ended up like, he was like, Mom, she's my friend. Then he was like, there were times where it's like he had to be friends with her in order to be close to the little girl that he wanted to be friends with,
Yeah.
you know? And it was the three of them all the time. And sometimes she'd be cool with them and sometimes she wouldn't. And I was just like, oh my God, this girl is taking advantage of you. And I'm seeing my little 5-year-old just being like in this triangle situation. It was really hard. It was really weird. And I would try to talk him out of it, but he just insisted on being friends with this girl.
Let's see, then like that's a good point you brought up, with because I didn't think of it that way, that if it's a boy and girl, like how do you, if you're telling your kid to defend yourself, what do you do in that case? Because for most parents, I hope a lot of them teach their boys not to hit on girls, and vice versa. Then you change the narrative. Like what happens then?
And there was a time, I think she even kneed him in the back. Like they were on reading, like on the mats, and she walked by him and kneed him in the back. And I was so pissed because
that's when you send Ray.
Like, Ray, my newborn at the time.
No.
Yeah, but it was, and then that's when I felt like I had to talk to the teacher. And I feel like I talked to the teacher over and over again. And it's like, you got it.
Usually nothing ever gets done, which is sad.
And that's really why I had to move schools when I was younger, is because there were these little boys. I had told you guys before, but I don't know if we included it in that first episode. But when I was in first grade, there were these boys that threw me on the floor and started and took turns humping me, and while the other ones held me down. And I remember like trying to fight them off and then going home, telling my mom, and my mom went straight to the principal, and they did nothing. Like they didn't do anything. They were like, we'll talk to the boys, but that was it. And my mom was like, that's not enough. Like, how do I know that my daughter's safe to go back to school if these kids, this is happening on your playground? And obviously, where are the proctors? They're all taking turns, so she pulled me out of the school. God, I feel like I've been pulled out of quite a few schools.
You troublemaker.
Yeah. They either want to hump me or they want to fight me.
What is it? Pick what you want.
Just kidding. That's awful. That sounds awful. Okay.
It does.
So do you know any adults that have not outgrown like their bullying tendencies?
I could still be a bully to my cousin.
Oh my God, we gotta check your ass because
I know.
No, like I don't physically hurt her, but we like. It's funny because now she's married, and like we kind of like make fun of her, every now and then it's funny because her husband will like join in on the jokes, but it's like we love him.
See, but I see that differently too, because like our family, we clown each other too, and I feel like that's just something that
normal.
No matter how old you are, your older cousins are always gonna tease you, or or your older siblings or whatever, and that's just like part of being in a big family. You know?
But what's sad is she's older than me. She's just like a tiny human.
Yeah. You're awful.
I don't know any adult bullies.
No, you don't? Other than yourself? No.
Don't fuck with me.
Dude, I feel like the bullies that I knew growing up are still
bullies.
Yeah. I feel like there's bullies there's people who are just awful human beings that need to put other people down everywhere, in the workforce, in moms at school, I just think that they don't, I don't know. If you know a bully that has grown out of it, please let us know, because I feel like the bullies that were when they were little
are still bullies. They are.
But I think it's because they have deeper issues of their own and just tend to take it out on other people. I think that's why people are bullies. And even cyber bullies, like they're all insecure. So
we've actually watched a couple movies where the parents are abusing the kids, and that's why the kid is a bully, So when I remember talking to my son about this one time when we were watching it, and I was like, dude, so when those kids are trying to bully you, yeah, obviously to defend yourselves, but you need to know that something's like missing, like sometimes they're either being taught that at home and that's
Yeah.
what they think is right, or they're being taught that that's okay, or something's happening to them where they're not being raised.
Or the parents can be bullies. Like the parents can be bullies, and then that's where the kids are seeing how the parents are. So then they come to school, and then they're big bullies.
Yeah.
Why are you
That's what
laughing?
I said.
Oh, is it what she said? Did you
Right?
see you
That's
guys
what I said.
in a different way? If you guys haven't seen this,
Well,
I've yawned about 90 times. I'm
Did
so
you?
stupid.
I think
Tell
that's
us
where it
more.
gets controversial too, because like I don't know, like some parents are sweethearts and like they raise their kids like
Yeah,
the best they can, but their kid still has issues. You know what I mean? Like
that's true.
like
Yeah.
it's not
So
always parents. Yeah.
sometimes it's the parents that are being the bullies, or sometimes it's a sibling that's being a bully. So they feel like they have to have power over somebody else,
Yeah.
or it's somebody close to them, or like you said, maybe the parents are not bullies and they just have this like kind of power struggle where they want to be in charge of somebody, and they
Who
see that this
knows?
person is like an easy target,
Yeah.
then you throw the elbow.
You walk in the hallways like this.
Football stands.
I don't know. At the end of the day, I feel like that's why we just have to have open communication with our kids, and constantly ask them what's going on. Not only the goods that happened today, but tell me about the bads. Like, did anybody mess with you? Does anybody make you feel uncomfortable? Ask those uncomfortable questions, because some days might surprise you, and then all of a sudden they're going to have a different reaction. And look for their facial expressions, because if they're like, no, but they're not looking at you in the eyes, like, like kind of pry. It's up to us. We're the parents. We got to get in there.
I have a teaser for you guys. I have a question. So let's just say that we're gonna pretend that you have a daughter too, Marianne, because you're gonna have one
Oh
in the
gosh.
next 3 years. Say if some girls were bullying your daughter and they came to the house to fight her, and she was just by herself, would you make your daughter go out there and like fight the girls or fight as a group? Would you help her?
No, I'm not going to let her get jumped.
Would you make her go fight the girl, or would you help her? Or if you've seen someone, I guess I'm trying to ask this question without putting anybody's business out there, because I know of a situation where a girl was getting bullied, and the bullies came to the girl's house to like fight her, and then the mom, it was just the one girl, and then the mom came out and she was yelling at the little girl. But this was, you could say the girl was like around 14, but the mom was a mom like in her 40s, and she started yelling at the 14-year-old. The 14-year-old started arguing with her, and then now the mom and the 14-year-old were fighting, like full on fighting. The mom ended up fighting the 14-year-old, and then once the 14-year-old went home, she went
Oh my
to
god.
her and told her mom, and then her mom came back up for the other mom. So like if there's a situation like that where
you step
she
in.
didn't like, she said it wasn't her intentions to fight the 14-year-old girl. She was coming out there to like defend her daughter, but the 14-year-old girl, like got in her face and all this stuff, and then next thing you know, she's fighting a 14-year-old.
Okay, so I literally feel like this situation happened. I knew somebody, and I was in the house where something happened like that, and the mom came, but the mom came not to fight the bully, but to call the bully out to fight her daughter.
Okay.
Because she was like, hell no, you guys are not going to jump my daughter. You want to fight her? You come outside and you fight her one-on-one. Like, give her a fair fight. You're not just going to be,
Dang.
honking her with all these other girls, So, and obviously the bully didn't go outside because she was afraid. But that, I remember that was pretty crazy, because I thought that the mom was going to come regulate too. But she was like, no, you're going to fight her, but you're going to fight her on your, like, fairly, But I can't imagine. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. really quick. Okay, I don't know if I should, but okay. So I told you I was raised pretty crazy. Like my dad was like, he was all about disciplining, right? So there was these kids that were running like, I don't know what happened, but okay, maybe I shouldn't. I'll tell you later. Because I don't.
We're gonna do
But
a poll
basically,
and
there were
see if
some
the
kids that
listeners want to talk.
like were arguing with my dad because they were like thinking they were tough shit and they were just gonna vandalize whatever and be fine with it because their dad was hot shit and their dad was gonna come and fight my dad, and my dad was like, okay, get your dad, like go call him, bring him over here, you know. So I've been in that situation where I'm just like, oh my God, my dad. But I can't imagine fighting a young kid. I mean, I know you want to. There was a little 4-year-old that was fighting with my son, and I wanted to fight her, but you can't.
Yeah, I know. And the way, but I just thought about that because she said that she didn't want to, but and then you constantly like are teaching your child like defend, and the girl.
But it's like, did the girl swing on the mom? Is that
Yeah,
why?
that's what. Yeah,
Oh,
the 14-year-old. Yeah, the mom didn't like attack, like go just to try to fight her. The 14-year-old like came at her.
And some 14-year-olds are big and stronger than you. You know, so you gotta defend yourself, right? I mean, shit. If a kid was bigger than you and came and started fighting you, like throwing fists at you, like, and you're trying to like dodge it, and then but they're stronger than you, my God, you gotta try. You're fighting for your life.
Crazy situation, huh?
That's tricky.
Yeah.
We should do
That
a poll on
tricky.
that.
Yeah, we should.
So what happened to them? Like, what happened to their mom?
So okay, if you want me to get finished, so
did the mom get in a fight?
no, because
She go to jail?
what happened was the mom actually at the time was pregnant. The mom was pregnant when the 14-year-old girl like started fighting her. So when the mom like went back in the house and the girl didn't just bring her mom. She brought like her mom, her aunt, like a whole bunch of people.
Entourage.
Yes. And they came, the lady was already like in her house and they were like, come down here, and she wouldn't come down. Obviously it was a whole bunch of girls and she was pregnant. So she never came down. But I remember her, like, I remember hearing someone, like, this was like a long time ago when I was little in a complex full of people. Someone said that she was like boiling hot water in case they try to run up there and like jump her.
Oh my God.
But I'm like, that's so crazy just how that happened because, I mean, she was
and people,
pregnant.
some people are going to listen to this and be like, yeah, like know exactly those type of experiences, you know, and then other people are gonna be like, oh my God, I've never even.
Yeah,
I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do. I would go out there with my daughter to see like what happens.
The girl did not look 14 at all. I just want to say she kind of like was the mom size. So
no,
it's
there
like,
was a girl. I remember there was you know, you always have those friends that say they're your friends, but they like to try to punk you too. Like, I don't know if you ever had any, but I remember like in high school, there was this girl, I swear she probably flunked like 5 times because she was so much bigger than all of us, but like tall, everything. And she would kind of punk everybody, but she'd be like, oh, I love you, but and like kind of stuff. And like my thing is like, don't touch me in the face. Like, I think that's the most disrespectful thing is to like push somebody in the face, you know? So I remember she like had done it she had done it and then she would laugh and like, oh no, I'm joking or whatever. And like one time she did it and I was like, no, don't fucking touch my face. Like, I was so mad. And I was like, I swear I'm not going to talk to you anymore. Like, we're going to have problems. And then she was so much bigger than me and obviously she could kick my ass, but she was like, okay. And then that was it. She finally stopped. But like, I swear I would tell her all the time, like, dude, don't touch my face. And I would do it nicely. And she just didn't get it. And then finally I like grabbed out, like held onto her arm. Like,
I said, don't touch my face.
Don't touch my face. But I hate those friends that are like, they feel like they have to punk you to like, I don't know, hold some type of, I don't know,
higher ground.
Yeah. I don't know. That's why I really feel you have to teach your kids early to defend themselves mentally and physically so that they could be assertive, because they're going to deal with this forever.
Well, to have the confidence to
have the confidence to deal with it, you know? And because the suicide rate is crazy.
Yeah.
And the bullying rate is crazy.
It's getting younger and younger too.
And it's our job as parents to like give them the tools to survive in this crazy ass world, you know? Like, and it sucks because we want to teach them kind and rainbows and butterflies and all that, but that's not realistic and that's not really setting them up for success, you know? Like, they have to be able to defend themselves mentally and physically from people who are out to attack them.
And defending doesn't necessarily always mean like physically.
Yes.
Right.
Because I know there's people out there who are like totally against physical contact.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because like we said, when it's a girl boy situation, they can't be physical, you know, so you got to defend them, you know, be able to defend yourself mentally and know that like what she's saying is not true, and you know, like things like that. Be stronger than that.
Yes.
Okay, so if you could relate to anything that we said in this crazy long episode, make sure to snap a screenshot, tag us, share this episode with somebody that you think could also relate, because we're here to help moms just like you who need to feel less alone in this everyday craziness. Okay, so we're here for you guys.
Bye.
bye.